Here. Okay, good Tuesday evening to everyone. There's a lot, as David mentioned earlier on the call, a lot of familiar faces, familiar names, and also some new names and faces that we haven't seen before. And this being the newcomer call, we welcome all those that have recently joined the Actives family. And for the many of you that already are part of the Actives family that are here supporting our new distributors and our members with this, Actives opportunity that we have before us. David, as our CEO, is our main speaker and our host this evening, and he will be talking about why he started Actives and all the other good things on what makes Actives such a unique opportunity in the space that we are at this moment. I've known David for quite some time now, but I did not know him when he had hair, which probably was since 8 years old, probably. So nonetheless, he is a wonderful guy. Hair, no hair. He's a stand-up person, a great, brilliant mind when it comes to business. He's been a CEO and president of numerous companies in this health and wellness industry, supplement industry. And so his wealth of knowledge in regards to this industry, supplements, health products, skincare products is very deep and vast. But more importantly, he is a wonderful leader. He leads by example. He's very compassionate, and he reminds me of both Coach Ron McBride and Lavelle Edwards, great coaches on the college level for University of Utah and BYU, in that he remembers people's names. He remembers stories and times, maybe 5-10 years ago when something happens. And that shows how much he cares about you as people, not just as distributors, but as people that he loves to be associated with. And that's what makes him such a special leader. And so I've been blessed to have known him. I am honored to be working with him, as much of you here on this call are. And because of David, I have gotten to know a lot of you. And so I thank you, David, for that. And more importantly, I thank a lot of you for that. We had Wayman, who gave an excellent presentation this past Saturday at our Active school. Wayman is what they call a military brat, but he told me himself, and I have it written down on my piece of paper here, he can adapt and perform. And that's what military people do. And that just kind of shows what kind of people we have involved in this business here at Actives. And so for the newcomers on this call, we welcome you and we appreciate you for joining this journey with us. It's very fun. It is unique to network marketing or direct sales, which David will talk about in a little while. And last but not least, for all of those that are surprised by how articulate David is, he is a recovering lawyer. So he sometimes uses big words that sometimes I have to Google myself to find out what the meaning is, which he keeps me on my toes. And so we really appreciate him being here, as well as all of you. And so I will turn the time over to our CEO, David Brown.
Thanks, Stu. Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you. Okay, be honest. Didn't you think that when Stu was talking about me being bald and all that, and then he started talking about how compassionate I am, and then he said he reminded you of someone, admit it, you thought he was going to say Gandhi, right? But I'm glad he didn't say Gandhi. I'd like to think I look a little different, a little bit better than that. But as I tell my wife every day, if I had height and hair, it just wouldn't be fair. And she laughs as well. And she says, whatever helps you, go to sleep at night, David, that's fine. But, it is great to be with you. And we have some products. We haven't found any products yet, despite our continuous epigenetic search for new hair growth products, new height products. But hey, everything else we've got is pretty darn good. And we'll talk more about that tonight. So we're glad to have you with us tonight. Again, as Stu said, we've been, some of us have been together for a long time. And we're going to talk about that as well. I'm going to use a presentation to help me tonight. Whoops, let's see, it says Angie, if she's on, has disabled. She does not want me to share my screen tonight. She probably saw the pictures before I got on. Maybe she's allowed me to now.
You should be able to now, David.
Thanks. So by the way, Angie is our Chief Operating Officer, for those of you who don't know. She is probably doing something with her family or her horses or something tonight. So I know she's there with us. Whether we'll actually see her or not, I guess will be a surprise. Well, I want to start off with a picture that some of you have seen me show before. This is a picture with my oldest grandson, Max. He's 10 years old, almost 11 now. I think this was taken a couple of years ago, when he and I had just finished climbing to the top of a hill behind the house where I grew up. You can tell it's pretty rural. And in fact, this is the scene that we're looking down upon. Much of what you're looking at was the ranch where I grew up. And Stu said that the fact that I sometimes use big words is because I'm a lawyer. Actually, it's because everybody where I grew up on in a ranch, that we all use big words. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, a lot of the words we use I can't say anymore. Or I'll get a little bit. They were a little bit more colorful. But anyway. I like to climb mountains. I like to do that. And so I wanted to show you another picture and talk about an experience I had years ago. In 1987, before I went to law school, I was living in Japan working, and my wife and my then 9-month-old, 10-month-old daughter had returned back to the United States to visit her family for a while. And I was on a train going into in Kyoto Prefecture. And I saw from a distance, I saw this stone path going up a mountainside in a bamboo forest. And I thought, that looks cool. I wonder where that goes to. So I kind of, I paid attention to the train stop and where it was. And so on the following Saturday, I had a day off. And so I went, and this is where that path begins. And I started climbing it. And it was about a 30 or 40 minute walk. So, going up the mountain. So probably, a couple miles. And at the top, I was not totally surprised to see a shrine like this, because you see things like this in Japan. This temple is called Iwashimizu Hachimangu. Okay, that's a mouthful. And it was really cool. I like going and seeing things like this. But what I was surprised at, in walking around, I saw this, to the memory of Thomas Alva Edison, and had a picture of him, and in characters it says Edison. And I thought, that's weird. Why is there this monument to Thomas Edison? So I actually grabbed one of the priests there and I said, why do you have this here? And he explained to me that in this surrounding bamboo forest, Thomas Edison was able to find the first successful filament for the light bulb. Now, he tried lots of things before, but had not been able to have the incandescent light bulb last for more than a few minutes, a couple of hours. But if I remember the story correctly, with this one, with carbonized bamboo, he was able to create a light bulb that I think lasted for like 1,200 hours or something. It was amazing. I really got him on the right track. And actually, the story is even more interesting than that. He had a Japanese assistant who suggested the bamboo might be a good material. And so he had a pair of chopsticks that were made out of bamboo. And the first filament was used from basically a sliver taken from this chopstick. And it worked so well that Thomas Edison said, wow, where'd you get this bamboo? And it was from this forest. And so that's where he went. And so speaking of Edison, you might know that he says that he failed lots of times, but then he said he actually had two really famous quotes about failure. One is that he says, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. Some of you have probably felt that way. I know that I felt that way when I started this journey of going up this stone path. I'm like, I don't know. And it was a lot more than 1,000 steps. And I wasn't sure what I was going to see at the top. And some of you, as you're just starting the journey with actives, might wonder, I wonder what my journey is going to be like. And then another one says, I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And that might apply to some of us as well, in terms of things that we've tried that really seemed like a good idea at the time. Maybe even so far, it might describe some of our efforts at actives that maybe we haven't succeeded to the degree that we want to yet. So we're still just kind of figuring it out. So I think Edison tells you that, hey, that's typical. It's just a matter of sticking with it and following the right path. And so when you think about, well, what might I be interested in doing? What might be, if I'm interested in a business, what might be a good business to jump into? Well, the business that we're talking about is the global supplement and direct selling industry. It's huge. It's billions. It's hundreds of billions of dollars worldwide. And in the US, people are interested in prevention, especially now. Have you noticed that with COVID and its its variants, there's a lot more interest, I think, because of people are kind of worried about whether traditional or like Western medicine is really going to keep them as safe as they'd like. And many people don't want to have to worry about treating it. Is there a way that they can be stronger and avoid getting it or avoid having it take a very serious toll on their bodies? And not just COVID, but lots of diseases and lots of health conditions. And so people are really looking for answers, and they want to take a more active role in their health. In fact, that word active is something we're going to go back to, because that's why we named the company what we did, active. So we want people to take an active role. So there are drivers in direct selling, people, the gig economy, people looking for something different. And it talks about how 50% of consumers buy something from a direct selling representative, and it's really easy for us to go international. So you think, okay, well, that sounds like a pretty good business, but man, how would I ever get a toehold in a business like this? Well, look at some of these other things. A lot of people are really deciding that they can make a difference in their own health. Look at this, almost 2 million deaths annually that are preventable. And it's basically because we're making bad choices. So this is where the science of epigenetics comes in. This is pretty recent stuff. Epigenetics really refers to outside influences on our genes that can really dictate whether our bodies respond well or don't, whether we are more inclined to get sick or not, whether we age gracefully and have a long health span, or whether we break down a lot earlier than really our body is intended to. And so all of this has to do with the science of epigenetics. And again, you might be thinking, okay, cool, but how do I get involved in that? Well, you guys remember the story of Dumbo? I'm kind of aging myself. I'm not sure if Dumbo's really that popular with the kids anymore. But in the top picture, you see Dumbo. And Dumbo in that picture actually shows us, if you know the story, that he had everything necessary to fly. In his case, a big set of ears. Okay, so he had the assets, he had the capabilities. But the second picture tells him reminds us how he really got to fly. He had a friend, Timothy Mouse there, that's in his hat, who told him that what you need is a, quote, magic feather. Okay, and he gives him his feather, says, if you grab this in your trunk, you're going to be able to fly. Wasn't really true, right? It was just a matter of helping Dumbo make his mind up that he could really do it and take advantage of his own characteristics, his own traits, his own abilities to fly, and he did. Well, for those of you that have joined us, and that's everyone, I guess. Maybe there's some people that are still taking a look at whether they would like to join actives or not. Let me tell you about a few real magic feathers we have. So if you wonder about your ability to really succeed in this global $200 billion industry, let's talk about what our magic feathers are. First, GNM-X. GNM-X was the first product we introduced. It stands for genome expression. What does that mean? Well, genomes is another word for our gene or our genetic system. And for many, many years, well, even before they mapped out the human genome with the Human Genome Project, and then for some time after, there was basically the thought scientifically that yes, our genes are what they are, and we just can't do anything about it. Now that's been proven to be totally untrue. And in fact, whether we think we are or not, by virtue of the decisions we make every day, our diet, our lifestyle, even our very thoughts, we are influencing the genes. And so an additional tool that we have to influence our genes, especially those that are so important to protect our immune system and to minimize and reduce inflammation, is GNM-X. And this formula has been scientifically proven to reduce oxidative stress, which is bad stuff, the cumulative damage caused by free radicals, linked to over 200 diseases, and reduces markedly inflammation levels, which is also basically tied to every disease out there. So you think, well, how do they know that? Well, this is an example of how they know that. They treated these cells, and when they lit up like that, they could tell, okay, we're making a difference on those genes. We're causing those genes to express themselves. This is a bigger panel with all of those saying, hey, these are the genes we're telling to turn on in the green and the ones to turn off in the red. Well, you might think, well, is this really true or not? Well, recently there was a study that was published. One more study specifically on this phytochemical combination, PB123 is GNM-X's scientific name. And look what it says it does on NRF2 activation, gene expression, and the cholesterol pathway. Well, what's interesting is that without getting into too much detail, it basically confirms that it is causing NRF2 activation. And NRF2 is basically this specialized protein called a transcription factor that gives instructions to hundreds and even thousands of genes, telling them to turn on or turn off. And all of those genes are considered to be survival genes, which link to inflammation and increased immunity. And then for the first time, really, that I can recall, it shows a specific application also in regards to lowering cholesterol and those genes associated with cholesterol, which is pretty big stuff. So that's one of our magic feathers. What's another one? Well, Optimend. Optimend is the name of our anti-inflammatory pain relief product that incorporates cutting-edge science. It starts with a metabolite of curcumin, which a lot of people have heard about, called tetrahydrocurcumin, basically what the body turns into or makes from curcumin. And then through really a revolutionary patent pending process, makes it so that our bodies can really absorb it much more effectively. So again, is that important? Well, yeah, it's important because we have pain that we feel from working out, from headaches, from all types of things. But even more importantly than that, perhaps, is this chronic low level of inflammation that our bodies are plagued with, again, because of lifestyle, environment, and diet. And so those things, that low grade inflammation has been linked to all the bad guys: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, neurological disorders. And so it's really important to lower that level of inflammation. What's interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the people associated with actives later on, but I'm just going to give you a sneak preview. One of our doctors on our scientific advisory board, some of you know, is Dr. Brett Earle. And I'm very happy to say that every member of our advisory board not only talks about the products, but they use the products. Some of you that were just on the call on Saturday, our active school, heard Dr. Rish Patel, a noted pain management specialist out of New York. And he not only talked about the science of Optimend, but also talked about his own use of it in his own life and in his practice. Well, I get this text yesterday from Dr. Brett Earle, who's an MD. And he said, Optimend, the text goes like this: Optimend to the rescue. Significant headache building today, approaching debilitating. Within 25 minutes, headache gone after taking what he called the magic stuff. Awesome. And so isn't it great to know? I mean, all this science is great. All these studies are great, but it's great to hear those testimonials, particularly from doctors. Well, the next one is butyric acid. This is our next magic feather. And I'll tell you what, I think butyric actually is kind of magic. It's often referred to as the God molecule. Look at all the things that it's involved with, from anti-carcinogenic and chemopreventative effects, anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective. It not only protects your brain cells, guess what it does? It actually helps you make more of them. And I don't know about you, because I don't have the benefit of covering on my head, I worry somewhat about whether my brain cells are getting burned out a little bit faster than anybody else's because I don't have hair. So I'm going to take all the neuroprotective effects and all the new brain cells that I can get. And so you better believe I take LINQ every day. And you're going to notice that gut-brain connection is stronger. You're going to notice that the brain fog goes away. And I like to think that it actually has made me just a little bit taller. Now, I like to think that doesn't mean that it does, but I'm just telling you that if we're talking about magic feathers, we might as well go all the way, right? Well, there is something to be said for all disease begins in the gut, like Hippocrates said. And while that might not be entirely true, increasingly science is saying, yes, the microbiome, the gut, the gastrointestinal system is key. It's intrinsically tied to virtually all of our health conditions and very much all of our proper bodily functions. So we got to take care of it. And the endothelial cells that line that entire system love butyric acid. In fact, that's their food of choice, if you will. And so we're providing it in a way that the body can use and use right away. We all know about, especially now coming off the holidays, coming off the Super Bowl. I don't know about you guys, but I did gain a couple of pounds recently by virtue of not only taking my wife back to San Diego where we raised our family and revisiting some of our favorite restaurants, but all that Super Bowl food, I did not make a lot of good decisions. I was part of that 82% bad decisions that was on that previous slide, okay? And so not only am I having to make up for it through increased exercise and things like that, but I'm paying more attention to what I am eating and what I am putting into my body. And AIRO has been specifically formulated to help us lose weight, gain energy through at least 5 different functions. Okay, whether that be creating a sense of satiety, a sense of fullness, so you're not eating so much, whether that's stabilizing blood sugar levels so that you don't have cravings, whether it's actually burning more calories through guarana and its ability to increase the number of mitochondria in each of our cells. And of course, we know the mitochondria are our furnaces, our power plants in our cells. And so all of these things, and it also, by the way, that as well as these other chromium picolinate and others, they actually recruit the bad fat cells, which are called white fat cells, and can actually reconvert them into the good fat cells, which I'm pleased to note are brown fat cells, although all of my fat cells are not great fat cells, I got to admit. But brown fat, brown adipose tissue is the healthy fat, and our ingredients actually help to convert that. Then we have EMORA. We believe in beauty and health on the inside and the outside. And a lot of the things that we experience on the outside in terms of our aging is actually a result of things that are going on the inside. Poor gut health, oxidative stress, the death of skin cells, and lower production of collagen and other things that help keep our skin taut and supple and moisturized. Well, we're dealing with that with LINQ, with GNM-X, and frankly, even with Optimed. But to help deal with the effects of the environment on our skin, that's where EMORA comes in. It provides increased moisturization. It helps to even out coloration and blemishes. And as our models show here, it reduces fine line wrinkles and other things that all of us, frankly, want to do away with. Well, we talked about at the beginning, climbing a mountain. And it's always easier if you've got somebody to help you, especially over the tough spots. So I want to talk about who that is. That's us, okay? We're going to help you get up the mountain. And I think it's best if you're going to climb a mountain that you're not that familiar with, or enter into a business that maybe you're not that familiar with, that you partner up with people who are familiar with them. And as Stu said, Stu's part of the team, we have been together in this industry. We've had a really good track record by joining with other really great people, and have had success in building companies just like Actives. My partner Ryan has had 25 years of experience in this space. Angie has been right there alongside. She's a lot younger than Ryan, by the way, as all of you know, but she has a lot of experience packed into those years and is one of the most capable people that I've ever met in my life. And we actually have an embarrassment of riches, not only in our products, not only in the science, not only in our Actives advisory board, but frankly, with every single person who's part of the corporate team. They are there because, frankly, they all want to, like you, they want to make a difference in the lives of others. Sure, they want to make money. They want to provide for their families. They have financial goals and dreams just like you do. But we're all in this together. And we've shown an ability to build companies, and Actives has grown tremendously in its 4 years of existence. And basically, we're just getting started. I mentioned the advisory board. I mean, look at the people who have decided to align themselves with Actives. Dr. Joe Maroon, one of the world's foremost neurosurgeons, the team doctor for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the head of medical affairs for WWE Wrestling, which is kind of funny to me. Actually, if you know Dr. Maroon, you don't really think of him as being in WWE Wrestling, but he is. And Dr. Brett Earl, whom I mentioned earlier, now retired Vice Admiral Matt Winter, who is still a sitting admiral when he joined the company, and our company and our products had to be vetted by the Navy and their legal and science corps before they'd allow him to join the company. Sinead Irwin, who is very instrumental in helping us put together AIRO, and who has her own practice in helping mostly women, but men as well, achieve their health goals. Dr. Daniel Hernandez, who's a longtime colleague of Dr. Joe McCord and Pathways Biosciences, who developed GNM-X and is an oxidative stress and free radical biology scientist of world renown himself. Dr. Rish Patel, whom we mentioned is our pain management specialist. Jeff Boast is a professor and a colleague of Dr. Maroon, who's assisted in well over 30,000 surgeries with Dr. Maroon in the past, and Richard Jones, who is as a media executive with one of the largest media outlets in the United States, has really been helpful to us in terms of the type of things, especially during COVID, that we've been able to put on in terms of our remote broadcasts. You know, when we talk about who's actives, we have them from all walks of life, from all shapes and sizes, whether we have a triple amputee, whether we have a Mama Coco, 107, 104, whether we have people in Japan, Marco Damaro, a famous singer, or my granddaughter dressed as Nacho Libre. We have a lot of people, and they're succeeding at various rates. One of my favorite stories, you're going to hear more about, is someone named Carmen Gallegos. This became, if I remember correctly, an A11. And she was telling her story recently on the Latinos in Action call that Ryan hosts every day. And he was telling me about this today. And even as he was telling me this, I thought, this is incredible. I wasn't hearing it firsthand. But she lives in Laredo, I think is it Laredo? Not Laredo, Texas. What's across the border from Laredo? Anyway, in Mexico. A spot that's really been hard hit by gangs and other things. And anyway, she was driving Uber, except she didn't have a car. You might think, how does that work? Well, she had an old beat up car, but it wasn't dependable enough for her to drive, to be an Uber driver. So what she was doing was basically betting on herself, and she would rent a car on a daily basis. And she would drive enough during it and hope that she would get enough give enough rides during the day to pay off the daily rental of the car. And she was just not going to let herself not succeed. And so she was putting in tremendous hours, 12, 14, 16 hours driving. And then actives came. And now she's been able to totally replace that with a job that's frankly not so taxing, not a job, but a business opportunity, and one that provides more for her and her family. But isn't that inspiring to think of someone that just did whatever it took? And our company's filled with people like that, with stories like that, that said, yes, I want to take a chance on my health. I want to take a chance on increasing my own physical health. And I'm going to follow these scientifically and consume these scientifically validated and developed products. But I also want to take a chance on myself to climb that financial mountain. I want to create an opportunity that maybe I don't feel like I've been given over the years. And I want to do it. And I'm going to take advantage, and I'm going to bet on myself. And I'm not going to let anything stop me. I'm not going to let people who don't believe in me stop me. I'm not going to let reputations about industries, products, or anything else stop me. I'm going to look at people like Christina Godoy, and if she's a single mother in Sacramento, if she can make it, I can make it. If Martin Lita in Delicias, Mexico, can go from being a potato chip truck driver to an A16 in our business, I'm going to do it. And many of you fit into that exact same category. You know, Susanna from Torreon is on, and she is a teacher and a wonderful teacher, but she's also a great leader in this company and a great distributor. And so many of, you know, I know Jerry's on here, and Paige is on here, and the Albertsons are on, and others. And there's just so many examples that if people want it, they can achieve it. So I'm just going to close by telling you something that I really like. I mentioned I was in San Diego last week, okay? And my wife said, where are we going to go to eat? I said, well, there's lots of great choices, but the first thing I want, because I'm really craving this, this is where AIRO didn't stop my cravings, okay? I still needed to have this. I needed my fish taco fix from Rubio's, okay? And Rubio's is a chain mostly in San Diego and throughout Southern California. And some of you have heard me tell this story before, but when I first was practicing law for a large law firm in Los Angeles, that was the first time I was introduced to the concept of fish tacos. Having grown up on a ranch in the mountains of Utah, we didn't eat fish tacos, okay? In fact, really the only fish you ate was trout that you might catch from the stream, but the idea of a fish taco just grossed me out, to tell you the truth. I couldn't even stand the thought of it. And so when people say, man, you got to try these fish tacos, I'm like, no thanks, but no thanks. That just sounds disgusting to me. We move to Colorado. Then we come back and we raise our kids in San Diego. At this point, my 10-year-old son, 12-year-old son, is saying, Dad, you got to try this. These are so awesome. You're going to like them. I'm like, Alex, no, don't. Now, Stu knows Alex and other people know Alex. And my son, Alex, who's now 30 years old, he's got an irrepressible personality. He's not one to be put down. And frankly, he will just bug you to death until you finally do what he's asking you to do. And so I said, fine, I'll take a bite. And I took a bite. And I'm not saying it was a life-changing experience. That might be overstating it a tad, but I love fish tacos. And what I found out was I didn't hate fish tacos. I hated the idea of fish tacos. And I'm telling you that some of you and many of the friends and people that you introduce this business opportunity to are going to have all of these preconceived notions about network marketing. They're going to have preconceived notions about nutritional supplements. They're going to have preconceived notions about people who get involved in network marketing companies and nutritional supplements. But it's not you, it's not actives, it's not the products that they don't like or they have preconceived notions about, it's the idea. And I can tell you that there's any number of people that if you just stick with it, if you rely upon these magic feathers I'm telling you about, and don't just be put off by no. I'm not saying harass them and just be a pain in the butt like my son was, but I am saying stick with it, because so many of them, just like many of you on this call today, are going to thank you for saying, you know what, thank you for thinking about me. Thank you for introducing these products. Thank you for introducing this business opportunity. Thank you for being that person that helped me start this journey, which I'm benefiting from day one. So anyway, that's Actives. That's who we are. We have a long way to go, but we've got a lot to offer you. And more importantly, all of you have so much to offer us, and you already have. You're making us better. Our best product, by the way, is not our business opportunity. It's not our products. It's a close second is our corporate team being our best product. But our absolutely best product for the world is each of you. No one can represent us better than you can to your sphere of influence, and we're grateful for that. And we'll never, ever put you in a position where somebody says, I cannot believe you scammed me into that company. I can't believe you made all these products about all these promises about these products. It's just not going to happen. Not on my watch. It will not happen. Okay. We're not slick. Okay. I'm coming to you from our palatial offices. Some of you have been to our palatial offices. They're not very palatial, but they are functional. And you know what? That's what we're all about. We're all about being real and being honest. And I think that's what's attracted many of you to us today. So on that note, I'm going to stop talking. As Stu says, I am a recovering lawyer. I am not fully recovered. And when I get started talking, that really manifests itself. It's like, dude, does this guy ever take a breath? Well, I am going to take a breath. And if you guys have got some questions that you'd like to ask me, we'll take a few minutes to do that. Okay, then. Thanks for joining. No, I'm just kidding. Do we have any questions?
Yourself or type it in the text on the chat area. Either one works. Anybody? Any questions for David?
Going once, going twice. I'd like to know about some of the new people who are on tonight. So if you're new, could you raise your hand and show us who you are if this is your first time being on? I thought, Mary, I see you. You did not look familiar to me, so welcome. I'm glad that you're with us today. Thank you very much. Who else is new? They're either not any new. Lauren, welcome. We're glad to have you. Apparently, some of you are both new and shy, and that's okay. We'll get you over both of that soon.
Sure. Teresa is raising her hand, and Teresa, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong. She actually joined under Carla, and if I am correct, Teresa is she reached A3 within her first month, I think. So Teresa's doing a great job, and we wanted to welcome her to Actives as well. So keep going, Teresa. You're doing great.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you saw Kathleen Fox. Kathleen Fox is also new. Kathleen was actually, we recognized Kathleen on our last corporate update call because she was one of our top enrollers in the US. So congratulations, Kathleen, and keep up the hard work.
Yeah, great to have you with us.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Nan.
All right, so what do you say to people that are just maybe a month in for trying the product, and they say, and I call them up for a follow-up and say, how is it going? Well, I don't see anything. I don't see anything different, you know, because I really feel like it's an inside type of a slow change. What do you say to that?
Well, I have my response, but I wonder, before I step in, I wonder if any of you that have been on with Actives a little bit longer, if you have anything that you tell people. How about it, Wayman? How about it, Diane? Anybody of you guys have some word, Jerry, words of wisdom that you might give to Nan?
Well, I most of the times I tell people, you know, you did not, your body did not become out of whack and, you know, damaged as much as it is on the inside. All the oxidative stress and stuff didn't happen overnight or in a week or in a month. And I usually tell people to at least try it for 90 days, knowing that by then they're definitely going to start noticing something. We can't promise any results or, you know, any healing or mitigated of any disease or pains and aches that's going on. But I know that Optimin right away, usually most people tell me, you know, within 25 minutes, 30 minutes that they feel different. Feel the difference in their pain tolerance and stuff like that. But keep taking it. It's working on the inside at the cellular level, and it only can help you. And then sooner or later, you're going to start seeing things in your life, just noticing things that you forgot about that was aching and bothering you, or realizing that you have a better sense of overall wellness, and that you have energy and there's some of the other things. People, I mean, I've never heard anyone to say they don't have anything at all, especially if they stay on the product. And I'm willing to bet that they will start seeing something as long as they continue to take it.
Thank you, Wayman. I have one. Thanks for asking, David. I tell people that if they were on a cholesterol lowering drug, they wouldn't always feel their cholesterol lowering, would they? And like Wayman said, it does take a while for your body to get there. It is scientifically proven. We can always go to PubMed and see what NRF2 does, or oxidative stress, or inflammation, and does to the body. So we know it is doing something, and some people don't feel a difference and some people do. And it's always those ones that feel a big difference that is where it's so confirming, but it is still doing in their body, and the body will heal it itself. And the body's going to, they might think, well, I want this healed, but then the body's going to heal something over here. What's that? Triage.
Goes to work on the things.
It goes, well, go ahead, Nance. There, she's really great too. It goes to work on the things that it needs to go on to work on. And it might be something to work on first. It might be something that they might not even know is going on, right? So anyway, that's what we have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, I think
That's a really good thing, because, you know, when I'm thinking about when people take high blood pressure medicine, you know,
you may not.
so that's really good to say that, because, you know, when they say, oh, I don't feel anything. Yeah, that's really good. I'll have to remember that.
I think for me, it's setting good expectations up front. And I'll tell people, you know, hey, when you start taking this, we do have a lot of people that have some pretty short-term results. However, right, whenever I try something like this, I give it a good 90 days, right, before really making a decision on it. And I think Diane had a point that, you know, our body has its own priority. And it's going to address what we think is the priority or not. And then the other thing I've done in the past is when somebody starts taking the product, have them write down a list of all the things that they're dealing with, like maybe a bad knee or a bad shoulder or migraines or something like that. Because I've had a lot of people come back and I've been talking to them and said, hey, how's it going? Just checking in. And they go, well, you know, and not really feeling anything. I'm like, well, what about that knee you told me about? And they go, well, you know, now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I haven't been having a problem with that for about 2 weeks, right? Oh, okay. And I just had people in mid conversations like, you know, well, this doesn't hurt anymore. And they just don't realize it because they have like a subtle change to it. So
Yeah.
maybe
That's how I was.
Good words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doesn't this just prove what I was talking about? That we have great people that can help us along whenever something comes up. So Donna, you had a comment?
Yeah, I have a question on the AIRO drink. Can you drink that indefinitely? And how many times a day can you drink it? Can you tell somebody they can drink it?
Well, I guess I need to, this is the lawyer part of me, Donna. If you say
Okay.
indefinitely, once you start, you shouldn't drink it forever. You got to stop and take a breath. No, I'm just kidding. That's a bad joke. But you can, my kids would be groaning at that right now, but sure, you can, well, first of all, let me take a step back. All of us, I think really, as we take these products, really are starting to pay more attention to how our bodies feel on things. And that's really important. And so if you're having a great experience with AIRO, yes, if people are saying, the caffeine at times, and especially if I take it later in the day, is making me not go to sleep as well or something like that, well, pay attention to those things. But from a health standpoint, yes, you can take it every day, and you can take it several times a day. You do want to be mindful of the caffeine content. It's not high, but if you take 10 cups of it, you're probably going to be banging off the walls a little bit. So, I'd pay attention to that. But yes, it is safe for continued consumption. Sure. Other questions? Are there any?
Looks
Angie,
like Mary has a question really quick.
Who did, Mary? Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of caffeine and the AIRO, do you know how many milligrams of caffeine is in there?
Angie, remind me. 70?
70.
70.
70.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The one thing I will say, as I comment upon the source of the caffeine, which is primarily guarana. Guarana is it is a source of caffeine, but it's much less, what's the word I'm looking for? Direct than say synthetic caffeine, caffeine anhydrous, which is usually in like cola drinks and things like that. It has much more of a time release effect as opposed to a harsh like jolt effect that other sources of caffeine do. So most people have noticed that. I've had many people who say, man, I can't take any caffeine, but then they really want the benefits of AIRO. And so they take it, or maybe they kind of ease into it like with half a scoop as opposed to a full scoop or whatever. And they find themselves saying, wow, this is really smooth, and don't feel the sensitivity to caffeine that in some cases they have in the past.
David, I could add to that. I did not start taking AIRO in the beginning. It took me about 10 days and I thought, well, this is my product, I'm going to start, because I normally cannot take caffeine. And now I know it's from the dark coffee bean, even though this has a little bit of the green coffee bean, but it did not affect me in any negative way. It's just such a nice, even awareness that it gives me. And I absolutely am, I tell everybody, I'm addicted to it. I need my genomics, which helps with addictions, for my addiction to AIRO. So it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, we're all addicted to good stuff. We're addicted to air. We're addicted to water. I mean, there's something it's okay to be addicted to. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, well, I do want to thank you all for being on tonight. I know, and thank you for getting on an hour earlier as we were thinking about these calls and other calls that are going on that are increasingly distributor led. We didn't want to be in conflict with them. In fact, speaking of calls, I understand that Julia and Sherry had a wonderful call last night. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. So great job on that. And at the end of the day, what you guys are doing and how you're reaching out is frankly a lot more effective than what we do at corporate. Just like when Nan asked a question, and so you are there where the rubber hits the road, you know what works, you know how to answer questions, you know how to answer objections. And so I really encourage all of you to continue to do what you've established a culture of doing here at Actives. And that's helping out, whether a person's directly in your organization, cross-line, whatever. I think that's what really sets us apart is I don't know anyone. And that's kind of unusual. You know, the network marketing industry has kind of a bad reputation for like, well, if you're not in my group, I'm not going to help you out. But that's not true here. I don't see that anywhere. I think everybody is joining hands, locking arms, and trying to move forward together. And that's awesome. So thank you, everyone. It's great to have been on with you tonight. Stu and Angie, I'll turn it back to you guys.